All right, in this next example, I want to show you a little bit more about what Topaz Denoise can do. So here's an image. This was taken maybe one of the first images with Canon R5 with the 800 millimeter RF 800, which is an f11 lens. It's a fixed f-stop lens, f11, doesn't move either way. And so when I wasn't sure how to shoot this, I was in manual, as I normally am, and I was shooting the Osprey across the street. And I had dialed in f11, obviously, shutter speed of 1/1600th. I put the ISO on auto because I had dialed in 1.5 or 2 stops of exposure compensation. So that you didn't end up in that situation like we saw in the last photograph where the osprey are kind of in the dark. But as I was standing there waiting for the osprey to come back to the nest, this beautiful cardinal landed in the tree, which was all in the shade. And so when you just pointed at it, this is what you get. Way overexposed. You can see the histogram way over to the right. And so what it did, if you look at the settings up here, is it actually shot it at 20,000 ISO. So let's just quickly take a look before we go to what I did with it and what that looks like from a grain standpoint or noise standpoint at 20,000. You can see there's a lot of noise in grain. So let's see what we can do with that. So here's the image with the correction. So the first thing obviously we did was we cropped. So it was a pretty aggressive crop, as you can see here, which is only going to make the noise even worse. Color temperature was okay. It was in the shade, so it's at 4800. But you can see we really had to compensate for that overexposure. It's down 1.14 stops, so more than a stop down to get it fairly reasonable, and taking the highlights all the way down. So you can see what that does. That really helped up in the sky. Really not too much more other than leaving the sharpening off and putting the profile and the chromatic aberration on. So rather than take it into Photoshop, what I'm going to show you is you can also use the Topaz Denoise plugins right in Lightroom. So again, let's just take a look here before we apply it. You can see a lot of noise. You can see here's the detail on the beak, and just kind of put that in your memory bank and we'll come back to that. So here is the image after we've run Topaz Denoise. You can see the difference. So let's see if we can go back to the image there. There's all the noise, not a lot of detail in those feathers. Here it is after we've run Topaz Denoise. It makes it a pretty nice image, one that I didn't think could be saved. And if you also look at what we did, if you go back to that, you see a shadow across the eye, and so all that was taking adjustment brush, and making an adjustment there and painting in a little bit right here. You can see where that area is right up there, and we opened that up a stop and a quarter around the eye. And that's all there is to the image. So really a nice adjustment, really powerful. We can go back and we can try and do this again. So on how you do it using Topaz Denoise in Lightroom is under Photo, Edit In, Denoise will show up here. Again, there's the noise that we're going to take care of, so let's get rid of that. Edit In. So here's the noise, so let's run Edit In Topaz Denoise. Make a copy with adjustments. Let it do its thing. We'll hit auto. So it's not removing as much noise as you might think, a lot of sharpening, but let's just take a look. You can see here the grain over here, pretty much all gone here, lots of feather detail in here. It's just pretty amazing what it can do. And just look at what it does to the beak. Look at these feathers down here, these little whisker hairs here down here. So again, just really an amazing difference between them. We'll cancel out of that. So again, just a terrific job by Topaz Denoise and saving an image that I would have thought could not be saved. So it's a combination of the dynamic range of the camera and the power of that software. So I think that's a good example and hope it helps you. Any questions?